Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is Clifton Davidson, head basketball coach at Bosque Preps, and also the 2020, I guess, is the state championship for the Bosque Bobcats. So congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
And I tell you, what a run. I mean, I just want to say ProView, when I did some home game and did some games for y'all guys and kind of showed you the impact that we had this year of what success the 3A brought to the limelight of 4A and 5A.
No, it was great, and I'm glad you guys came to some of those early games. It helped us not to be so nervous when you guys are at the big games at the end. So I appreciate it.
That works two ways. We're if you're a coach, we're either the kiss of death or we're the heroes. If you win, we're the heroes. If you lose, then ProView was there, and you have an excuse. So
right. I blame you guys for our first loss against Siembieda Prep when we were at their place.
Well, I tell you, and help me out with my memory here, but every time you play them, it was like almost a 1 or 2 point ball game, almost coming down to the last seconds of the games.
Yeah, the second couple of games are like that. The first 2 games that we played them, they handled us pretty heavily that first game, and in the second game we actually were ahead for most of the game before we couldn't make free throws in the fourth quarter and wound up losing by about 8, I think it was.
Well, it's what a success, and it's been fun to watch. It's always fun to see a metro area team win the state championship, and also to have two metro teams in the finals, and that just shows you the success of one, and also your district rival at the same time.
Right. No, and that was great, and Coach Rivera and I talked about it, throughout the season that we felt that our 2 teams were the best teams in the state and could be in there in the championship. And after we played our last game in the regular season, we said, see you at the district championship. And after we played that game, we said, see you next Saturday in the state championship. So we were fortunate to both make it there and compete for the state championship.
Well, going into the state championship, a lot of moving parts and kind of talk. COVID was just beginning at that stage, and what was your thought and your thought process with, is there going to be fans in the stands? Or are we going to play? Or are we going to have co-champions? And kind of talk me through those elements.
Originally it was. My original reaction was that I felt that the state was overreacting to COVID and preventing fans from being in the stands. And, as we went through that process, I recognized the seriousness of it, and that they were really trying to protect our players and protect our fans in our state and prevent the further outbreaks. But, we were just honored to be able to play the games. We did not want to get as far as we did and share co-championships, or at that point, what you did, I think we had 4 teams left at that point. So what would have happened at that point, we didn't know. We were just fortunate and privileged in the state of New Mexico to finish out our state championship, which did not happen in a lot of states.
Well, I'm just kind of looking at your sheet right here, my cheat sheet right now, and you were 26-4, and Siembieda Prep, you were like 0-2, right? Going into the district play.
Yes, Siembieda Prep's just a really tough basketball team, and we had to figure out a way to beat them. I mean, they're big, they're fast, they can shoot the 3 ball really well, coach really well, and they always in the first 2 games figured out ways to beat us, and we figured out ways to beat ourselves, because I think there was that little bit of fear of playing them because they were such a talented basketball team.
Well, I got to watch. I actually did the championship game, but I actually did all the games, every other game basically from the semifinals in. I think I did like 16 games in a matter of 2 or 3 days or something like that, and truthfully didn't even get tired. It was just so exciting. And one thing about, everybody the concern was, how the kids going to react with no fans. And I tell you, there was a lot of intensity all through. I mean, it might be more intensity, and it was also a chance for the coaches to really get to coach and be heard, because there was no distractions. And I say this from my heart too, is that I really felt that the officials were more efficient. Because they weren't weighed by the crowd, and they were focused more of listening to both coaches.
Right. No, I think that was really different to be able to be heard, not just by your players, but by the other team. And, coaches, we often talk smack and say a lot of things that we shouldn't, or things that our players hear. And then now when you say those things,
it echoed. We were up at the top, and it echoed all the way up to the top. So
exactly. I remember listening to the game back, and you guys say, well, Coach Davidson just told this to his player. And I'm like, that's crazy that you can even hear what I was saying. But, the officials, I think, did a great job also of managing it, understanding the intensity of those games, and allowing the players to play those games and to compete. But I think everybody did a great job, from the NMAA to the officials, the announcers, ProView networks, of making this happen for all of us.
Well, I tell you, it was fun for us. It was exciting. Like I said, it's always fun for ProView networks, and not that we're biased or anything, but we cover most of the Metro and Rio Rancho and Los Lunas and the small schools, and it's neat. It feels like we've done the games, we know everybody, and you get to know the coaches, and the camaraderie is just unbelievable. To go to a game and feel like you're like I'm an assistant coach almost. It's really exciting. So.
No, it's great, and this community is great, and we all, as far as coaches, we compete against each other, and we want to win, and we want to do the best we can and come off victorious after every game. But after that, for the most part, we do communicate with each other and support each other and give each other advice and tips. And I remember after playing Hot Springs, I had 30 text messages, and some of them were for current coaches that we play against, going, "Why did you do that?" And when you play tomorrow, make sure you do this. So it's good to have that in New Mexico.
Well, Clifton, let's go to the Dream Style Top 10 Plays of the Week, and then we'll come back and reminisce a little bit about that championship game.
All right, sounds good.
They haven't gone back to more. Racanelli's still in there. Throwing on the post pattern. Caught. Down. What a catch at the 25-yard line. That's just a great catch by number 1, Drake Owen.
Single running back. And West does get the ball, and he has wide open lane. Let's see if he can make it. He punches it in. Did they get it? Yes! Touchdown, Ben West. Hands the ball off, nice hold for a nice run. He breaks one, breaks two, touchdown!
Second down, Smith. Plenty of time, a little pump fake. Fires in, he's going for Connor O'Toole to the end zone.
Fowler the play fake, throws it out to Colson on the screen. Colson breaks the tackle. 20, you might be going to the house. Touchdown Mustangs.
Third down and 16. Redford going to throw it, throws it out. The receiver slipped. The ball is picked, and back to the north side we go. And this could go all the way back for a touchdown and into the end zone. Set far side for Bell. She couldn't put it away. Sharp over the block. Salas. Ray. Hit over by Cheshire. Sharp again through the block. Looking to set Bell on the far side. Gonzalez Sanchez digs it out. Jones will push it to Sharp. That's been her spot, but they're scrambling and still alive. Now it's going to come over. Salas gets it there. Jones. Gonzalez Sanchez. Sharp will have another swing. Just barely able to get it back over. Great defense for Pius. They'll try Wallace on the other side. Yes!
Play fake. Throws. Oh, what a catch by Reggie Colson. Boy, he got whacked and still came down with it.
Handoff goes right side. Breaking some tackles and more. Off to the races. Still on his feet into the end zone. What a...
Middle of the field. It's one of the most impressive things you will ever see.
Here's a quick slant, and look at the speed by Altier. Can anybody catch him? A foot race. Altier. What an answer.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. We have Clifton Davidson here from Bosque Prep. Bosque, excuse me. Boy, I'm messing up a little bit there. So, but congratulations on your 2020 state championship 3A, and you got hot at the right time. I mean, you lost that. I was just looking through my cheat sheet here, and man, you got hot, and you sustained that hotness all the way through district play, and then also through the state tournament.
You know, it's all about getting hot at the right time, being consistent at the right time, and being lucky. You know, to have the right players and not have injuries, and to figure things out at the end. So I was, you know, proud of the boys and all of them for sticking together, staying confident, and continuing to play together.
Well, I tell you that your first game against St. Mike's, though, that was like, well, can we go the next day, or should we just celebrate right now? I mean, that was right down to the wire. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
That game was amazing. You know, you just you know, from our perspective, we thought going into that game that, you know, we were a much better team than St. Mike's, and that, you know, the expectation was that, you know, we would win that game and, you know, 10, 12 points and be, you know, pretty safe, but they did not allow that to happen. They were ready for us at every stage of the game. That's a very classy team, a very young team, and if we get to play again this year, that's a team that everybody needs to be on the lookout for, because they were very young last year. I think had a lot of sophomores on that team that we played, and our boys were very nervous in that game. Were very hesitant. I think Eli was the only player we had in double figures, which just isn't the norm for our basketball team.
Well, it was like, it just seemed they did a great job of scouting you. It just seemed like they had, I mean, they were maybe, like you said, maybe y'all might have been a little bit overconfident coming in. They had nothing to lose, and they played that way the whole game. It was, you know, I mean, you ended up winning 48-46, but that was one that you're going, hey, let's just move on to the next game and forget about this one, because we don't have time to think about it.
No, we were just praying to get out of that game at that point, you know, and they just, you know, made all the right plays, out-rebounded us, out-hustled us in that game. And we were fortunate that, in the last 30 seconds, Eli made a basket that put us up one, and then the last 30 seconds we were on defense for that entire time, and we were able to pull that off. And what's important to know, Steve, is that one of our players, an 8th grader, Kyle Morris, was missing and for the whole state tournament, and he was an impact player for us all season long. And that was the first game that we had played really without him coming off of our bench and helping us, and it showed that we had not had that kind of consistency without him in that game at that point.
Well, you got that one, and then the Hot Springs was like a lot of expectations for that game. I mean, that was and you came out focused. I mean, it just seemed like y'all were on a mission. I think that's a little bit of coaching, but also I think you said it earlier. It was, playing in the pit for the first time. Playing gets you a little bit of nerves.
No, a lot of nerves, and our boys were just really focused. I mean, once we made it to that point, Steve, I mean, we were really just glad to be there. Nobody expected us to be there at that point, and they had already accomplished a lot. But in their eyes, every single one of them, every player on that team felt like they had so much more to prove. And Hot Springs was the defending state champs. We hadn't played them in the last 2 years. And so it was just really exciting to get that opportunity to compete against them. And Coach Bean always does an amazing job. And it was one of the teams that we had kept our eyes on, and I probably scouted 3 or 4 of their games throughout the course of the year to be prepared for the opportunity to play them.
Isn't that funny how that destiny kind of works out? It's amazing how many coaches say, "Hey, I think we're going to play this team. We're going to play this team," and then all of a sudden you're there and you were very well prepared, and you go ahead and win 67-53 and a high margin. I mean, and very very confident going into the finals, and we can start the highlights, and you can take over and do a little play-by-play. And if Josh can get that rolling. Here we go.
So that was huge for us. Ian hitting that big 3 right off the beginning to kind of set the stage. Anthony Sanchez, hit that 3, and I think that was the only one. And I think we were 5 for 5 from 3 at the beginning of this game, which was huge for us.
Well, I tell you, San Diego, it was just a back and forth game, the whole game, and some key moments, and we'll see if it come up. I mean, it just seemed like you kind of took over a little bit at the end.
Yeah, and early on, man, Ian Kahn really kept us in that game. He scored a lot. It was probably his most well-rounded game of the year, and that championship was just great because everybody else was struggling, especially in the second quarter.
As the game goes, and you're tied now at 30-30. Can you remember what your thoughts were at this time?
I wasn't really thinking much of anything until this play right here, when Eli got that steal. I just felt like we were competing. They were competing, and either of us could win the game at that point.
Well, I tell you, we haven't talked about your son. I mean, that's a job in itself, and I want to say great success for him, but he really showed up in the state tournament.
Well, thank you. He really did, for us, and he'd been, leading our team for a couple of years now, probably really been our leader since his sophomore year, and it really worked out. But, we can focus on that, but so many of these other guys did so many things for us that made it possible for Eli to have success and for us to have success. And I would always preach to them, if Eli scores 30 or 40, we're going to lose. And everybody else has to be able to step up. And he had to learn to trust everybody else to do that as well. And if you look at the stats for his last 3 years, his scoring went down every year.
Well, Clifton, we're going to go to a little break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to pick up right there your thoughts of what your mind was going through when you won the state championship.
Awesome.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. Clifton Davidson, state champions, 2020 state champions last year, and what a run! I mean, we saw you at the end of the game, and what were your thoughts? I mean, that just one a coach and son relationship. That's one thing that I think. Joe Coleman, there's not too many coaches that have experienced that over the years, but that's special in itself.
No, it was so great to be able to coach him, and we had a lot of hurdles to get over as the coach and son and father and son over the years, and I think we did that well. But I was just so proud of the players on our basketball team. So many of them been discouraged over the years to play, and Bosque had not had such success in a long time since, Eric Orell, Craig Snow were there and hadn't really had that success. And so for those kids to have stuck with it and stuck with the plan and continue to play despite all of that, I was just so proud of them for doing that, and my coaches as well for sticking with it and staying with me even after the first year when we were 4-22 and then getting bounced in the first round the next year. And they worked so hard, and it's just a privilege to be around all those guys.
Well, I mean, have you got over that, and now it's a new year and back to the drawing board and new developments? The season hadn't started. We should be playing. We probably should have played probably 4 or 5 games by now, and hopefully it's going to start in February. But how do you keep everybody focused right now? I mean, that's I think that's one of the biggest coaches' challenge right now for everybody.
Well, for us, at least with the players, we have constantly been in touch with them and keeping them working out. We're doing Zoom videos and workouts a couple of times a week for the entire summer. And then when school started, we were fortunate for the first time to have a 6-period PE class, and we could get in there and work with the boys and girls and see them and talk to them and keep them active. And now, since that stopped, we essentially give them workouts that they do on their own, and they provide us with videos of their workouts, and then we provide them with feedback on what they need to improve on and keep working. So we're in touch, talk to them, call them, text them, whatever we need to do to keep them focused. And hopefully we have a season this year.
Well, and that's the question. I mean, keeping everybody focused and positive. That's we don't know. There's too many moving parts to really say, oh, there's going to be a season. But there is a schedule that we're going to start in February and move on with that. But it's got to be awful difficult to keep motivating these players.
And that's true. A lot of players from a lot of different programs and different schools are struggling and right now, and frankly they've been struggling for a long time, with that motivation, and not having school is probably more important than not having sports and not being able to see their friends on a regular basis, teachers and other people who have an impact on their lives too, outside of their parents and friends and the teachers that have sacrificed so much for our kids too. So not just having sports is important too, but so much more is going on for all of our kids and adults and whatnot that are impacting them. So it's important for us to stay in touch and reach out and call them. And when teachers send me messages that a student's not doing anything that they're supposed to, I pick up that phone and call them right away and get those things taken care of. So we're still doing all of that.
Well, is your cooking doing a lot better? I mean, are you getting new meals coming out? I mean, I see all these things on Facebook. I had to throw that out there. I mean, you seem to be, I know you're very talented. Now you're going to be a new chef, like I understand. So.
Yeah, my cooking's always been on point, Steve. Like, my mom taught me how to cook, a long time ago, and now, it's my job to teach that to my kids. And Eli knows how to throw down in the kitchen, and my 11-year-old just made some Japanese ramen for the family, and it's probably the best ramen I've had in my life. So we can throw down over here in the kitchen. Well,
I tell you, let's talk about, let's just say the season is starting. Let's talk about your district and what, who the top teams in the state that you would, you already talked about St. Mike's a little bit, but, Sandia Prep's going to be still, they're going to be right there, and yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sandia Prep's going to be right there, as I would say going into the season, probably the top team in the state again. I mean, I think that they're bringing back, everyone on their team with the exception of Max and I think one other senior. But, Sam and those other guys who are coming back are, extremely experienced now. They've been through this heartbreak twice, making it to the state tournament, Final Four, and then making it to the championship. And they're going to be ready, and they're going to be focused. Obviously, St. Mike's is going to be up there. Hot Springs is going to be right back there again as another team to worry about. So, I think that we're going to be somewhere, or would be somewhere in that top 5 area. We're bringing back most of our team as well, with the exception of Eli. We have a lot of young talent that's returning, 3-year starters who are now going to be in some different roles, but I think they're ready for those, and we're ready to compete and defend this state championship.
Well, I tell you, it's exciting. I mean, like you said, hopefully, things work out, the vaccine gets out, and the cases go down, and we could be business as usual with our high school athletes. But let's talk about the fan base of how packed your gyms get when y'all played last year. I mean, it was sold out. I mean, I went to a couple of them, and it was like I could barely get in. So and it's just wall to wall people.
Well, that was a new experience for us. We're not used to having that many fans and sold out gyms and having to bring in extra seating for people like Laguna Acoma. I mean, we had to bring in extra benches and bleachers for that game. But, it was just such a great experience for the kids to know that the school supported them, their fan base supported them. And even the school for the Hot Springs game, they were prepared on that day. I think it was a Friday to bus the entire upper school to the pit for that game to have our fans. And so it was so good for us to know that we had the support of our school, our administration, and the city, as well. And it was great to have other coaches in New Mexico come to those games wearing their Bosque gear and supporting us as well. So
Clifton, thanks for coming on the Steve Davis Show. It's been a pleasure, and also congratulations, well deserved, and keep good things going for Bosque.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate that, and thanks for having me on as well.
All right, have a good day.
You too.